Everybody. When we think of heroic soldiers, we often think of events related to combat. But on this date in 1943, an Army troop ship was on its way to Greenland and it was torpedoed and it sunk. And 4 Army chaplains gave their life jackets away so others might live, and they went down with the ship. The Dorchester was built in 1926 and was a passenger liner between Miami and Boston until World War II. The War Shipping Administration worked with private ship companies to help out with the war effort. And here's a picture of the Dorchester as a troop ship. Guns had been added, also extra lifeboats, and there were soldiers on the ship to man the guns and do the radio, but the ship itself was crewed by a civilian crew, many of whom had been sailing on it for 10 years or so. This is a convoy. Most of the ships that went to Europe from our country were in convoys. Convoys were considered safer from German submarines, and German submarines were a real threat. Here's the map from the spring of 1943 showing where German submarines tended to operate, and there was a little cluster right at the tip of Greenland, the southern tip, and that's where the Dorchester sank. The red dot is the spot of the sinking. The ship had left New York City. It was on its way to Greenland, and there the chaplains were going to pick up another ship to go to Europe. So here they are. George Fox was a Methodist. Clark Poling was with the Reformed Church of America. Alexander Goode was a rabbi. And John Washington was a priest. They had met at chaplain school at Harvard, and they were on their way to Europe for their first assignment. So as the ship approached Greenland, it was on high alert, but when the torpedo hit, it lost its electricity almost right away, so it wasn't able to shoot off flares to tell the other ships it was in trouble. It wasn't able to activate the siren, which was the signal to abandon ship, and it sank pretty fast in about 20 or 25 minutes. So the chaplains did what they could to get people to lifeboats, to help organize the evacuation, and they gave away their life jackets when no more could be found, and they were last seen arm in arm, singing and praying as the ship went down. There were people in the water who were rescued, but many had frozen to death because of hypothermia, because it was bitter, bitter cold in February in the Atlantic there by Greenland. In 1960, Congress authorized the Chaplain's Medal. They had earned the Distinguished Service Cross and the Purple Heart, and this was given to the families posthumously in 1961, sort of like the Medal of Honor, but especially for them. The book Sea of Glory came out in 1953. This told the story of the Dorchester and the chaplains. This book came out in 2001. It's fiction. It's the same title, but notice the authors. David Poling was one of the chaplain's first cousins. The first stamp was issued in 1948, and there were many memorials to the chaplains all over the country, and many were stained glass windows. So here's a stained glass window from the Pentagon, and you see these in many churches and chapels. This is in the National Cathedral in Washington. There's a chapel dedicated to World War II, and one of the panes is of the 4 chaplains. This particular stained glass window is at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, in the main post chapel. So many of the memorials are on military bases or installations, but not all. This one is in Ann Arbor. And as the 4 chaplains are on the railing of the ship, you note in the upper right corner the Star of David and the cross. In Kearney, New Jersey, this big memorial shows the 4 chaplains in 4 poses of prayer as the ship goes down. And this one in Dorchester, Wisconsin, reminds us of the terrible toll, one of the worst of any convoy ships in World War II. The chaplaincy was created by the Continental Congress in 1775 and chaplains continue to serve faithfully the soldiers wherever they are.